Right. I'm obviously not saying I'm advocating for this, but on that video where Diana Figueroa is being dragged from her vehicle in Chicago, she's a U.S. citizen and a paralegal. And on October 10th, I believe, ICE slammed into her car and then claimed that she hit them. They jumped out with their guns out, pointed at her, dragged her from the vehicle, did not identify themselves, neither their names nor what branch of law enforcement they worked for. They had their faces covered. They dragged her out, did not Mirandize her, and basically threw her into the back of an SUV and detained her. The charges were eventually dropped. Her story is in the New Republic today, as well as the Chicago Tribune. But on that video where I'm discussing this incident, I had so many people, especially on YouTube, ask me, can't people exercise the stand your ground rights while literally being abducted by masked men who will not identify themselves? And I'm not a lawyer and I'm not advocating for this, but I see this question a lot. If these men will not identify themselves, we don't know if they're legitimate law enforcement or not. They won't answer your questions. They won't give you their name and badge number. They won't tell you what branch of the law enforcement that they work for. They do not inform you why you are being detained. They don't tell you why you're being arrested. They do not Mirandize you. They are violating your constitutional rights, your 14th Amendment rights. Why is it that you should have to submit when you have no idea if these guys are legitimate law enforcement? There have been several instances of men who have committed crimes pretending that they are ICE when they're looking to assault women. And lest we not forget, an American politician was assassinated earlier this year, for which Donald Trump did not lower the flag to half-mast. That is Senator Melissa Hortman and her husband. She was a state lawmaker from Minnesota, and her colleague, Senator John Huffman, I believe, was wounded as well. When Vance Bolter, who is a Republican, he's a MAGA, he allegedly dressed up as a member of law enforcement, went to the homes of these two Minnesota elected officials and shot them and their family members. Melissa and her husband died. You have people dressing up in law enforcement looking outfits who will not identify themselves. They are covering their faces. You do not get their name and badge number. This is not legitimate law enforcement. When they are dragging American citizens out of their cars and stuffing them into unmarked vehicles, and we have reports that Ms. Figueroa was denied access to an attorney, and she was also denied the ability to call her family. Her family found out that she had been snatched by ICE by seeing the video of them dragging her out of her car on social media. They found out from social media. This is straight up lawlessness. This is fascism in the United States. Masked, unidentified men can ram you with their cars, point their guns at you, drag you out, not tell you why you are being handcuffed, not tell you why they are brutalizing your body and stuffing you into a vehicle, and then they shuttle you around from detention center to detention center, deny you access to an attorney. This is what happened to Diana Figueroa in Chicago, Illinois in October 2025, and her story is not unique. According to the New Republic, ICE and especially ICE spokesman Tricia McLaughlin have straight up been lying about what is happening in these instances, which is why it is so crucial that we continue to document, because they're not being truthful about what's happening. I don't know. I don't have an answer to this question. I would love for an attorney to weigh in. You have to submit to somebody who won't identify themselves and won't give you their name and badge number, won't tell you who they work for, doesn't tell you why you're being detained, doesn't read you your Miranda rights. How do you know that that is a legitimate member of law enforcement and not somebody who is trying to abduct you? I mean, they are abducting people, but how do you know that that's not a kidnapper? They are basically conditioning people to functionally submit to their own kidnapping, because if you fight or you squirm or you resist at all, they will add resisting arrest charges or assaulting an officer charge. That's what they tried to do to Ms. Figueroa here, because these guys were dragging her out of her car, pointing their guns at her. They wouldn't tell her what was happening. They rammed her with their car. She's scared shitless. No indication, no communication about who they are. So why should she submit? Why should she lay there and take it? law enforcement trainings on what happens if you are actually the victim of a kidnapping by a criminal. You're supposed to fight. You're supposed to do everything you can to not get put into the vehicle, not to get moved to a second location. That's what law enforcement teaches you about abduction, is that you do not allow yourself to be moved to a second location. You don't allow yourself to be put into that car. So why is it that if you try to follow that law enforcement recommendation, when it comes to people who are dressing up like ICE, who you don't know if they're legitimate law enforcement or not, they could be men in law enforcement uniforms, like the guy who assassinated Melissa Hortman. If you do fight, if you resist at all, and it turns out they're ICE, they're going to try and slap you with felony charges of resisting arrest or assaulting an officer, which are trumped up charges. So it's a real bad scene. I'm not giving any legal advice. I'm not recommending that people fight. We always say that you should not resist. Don't resist. You can be like a limp noodle. You don't have to assist them, but you definitely should not resist, because they're itching. They're itching to add those extra charges. This is a real shit scene. This is why if we don't have due process rights and they're not upheld, then nobody has rights. These rights exist, these procedures exist to protect legitimate members of law enforcement, as well as American civilians. And it's complete lawlessness. This is fascism. This is exactly what Trump wants under fascism: the complete erosion of your rights, and masked men that work for Donald Trump being able to do whatever they want and get away with it. And are we gonna tolerate that? Are we gonna allow that to become the new normal in America? No. Fuck no. No, we're not.